Hello and welcome back to the MyFootballWriter YouTube channel. We've got another opposition match preview today, and I'm delighted to say Dee joined me from Back of the Nest, the Crystal Palace fanzine channel. So, Dee, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for having me here. I know it's a bit hard, of course, with you know getting able to talk to each other with the amount of games that's going on, especially with the championship. But it's good. It's good that it's been a while since we faced Norwich.
Yeah, yeah, it definitely has. I think, well, the last time would have been when we were in the Premier League, but I guess the best place to start then, D, is probably about Crystal Palace's season. How has it been so far, and how has it been? How has life under Oliver Glasner been as well?
So far this season, it hasn't been a great start for various different reasons. I mean, the first game against Brentford, we were hard done by the referee for the Eze free kick decision, and then they end up scoring on the first counter attack, and then it was just typical because it was never a foul on Eze, and then we had our own mistakes, especially with Edward being offside when it shouldn't have been offside, and that goal would have counted. So it was a frustrating game against Brentford, and then most recently against West Ham. I mean, in the first half, we created chances. We ended the game with the same amount of XG. Literally, I know XG doesn't mean everything, but the chances were there, especially in the first half. We didn't take them in the second half. We made subs and we ended up losing the game. The subs basically cost us because the game tilted towards West Ham's favor. But it has been a weird few months. We've lost Elise to Bayern Munich, and then before the West Ham game, we lost Jordan Ayew and Joachim Andersen from the club. So, I mean, replacing them within 24 hours is a bit too much to ask for, but it kind of ruined our preparations for the game, and it didn't help us by one bit, especially for the West Ham game. But we're looking at bringing in a few players. We've got money now to spend. So hopefully we get that done by Friday. But it has been frustrating more than anything to the start of the season because we haven't had stability with the Euros and the Copa America. We had a combined of, I mean, we had four players for England, two players for Colombia. So these players, they came back very late to preseason. So we didn't have a proper preseason. So we're basically taking a game at a time while still not playing bad. And the only problem has been not being clinical enough, and then it costing us at the end of it. So yeah, frustrating. Frustrating is the best way to describe it.
Yeah, one thing I did want to touch on is about, as you mentioned, the departures. I
Mm.
think somewhat unfairly, Crystal Palace have always sort of been stereotyped as a one-man team. First of all, it was when Wilfred Zaha was at the club. Then you sold him, and it sort of became the Michael Elise show last
Yeah.
season. Are those two departures like the biggest you've had in recent years? Or do sales such as Joachim Andersen to a London rival in Fulham, are they huge misses that will impact you for this season, or is it just the Elise one really that sticks out like a sore thumb?
Elise won, yeah, because you can't replace Elise in my opinion. He's that good of a player, and he's going to. I think people are going to realize that at Bayern Munich, he is. Yeah, there isn't a player out there that you could buy like Elise unless you spend 70 million pound at least. So that's not going to happen. So Elise one hurts. I think. I mean, with the Zaha one, it happened at the right time in terms of losing Zaha but having Elise and Eze at the football club. It was like, it's over to them now. It's time for them to carry the team. Anderson was actually a good deal. I know a few Palace fans are upset, but he's reportedly on now 130 to 150,000 pound a week. He signed a 5-year deal as a 28-year-old. So he's going to be going into his 30s with high amount of money being spent, which I don't agree with. We've done that before at Palace. That's why we were in the mud with Roy Hodgson leaving with a very aging squad previously, and not this time around, but when he last left us and Vieira came in. So I think that was sensible business by the football club. But yeah, um, I think all we have to do now is replace Anderson and bring in another number 10. Replacing Anderson, I don't think it should be a major problem. already players that have been mentioned. So I think we should be able to get that done. Number 10 now, it'll be interesting to see what route we go down because there's been a few players even from Norwich who, of course, you lot have now sold these players that have been linked with Palace. So I think 2 players minimum, and that's the missing piece of the puzzle. We don't need to buy a lot of players right now.
Yeah, so as you mentioned there, you need a number 10. Is what characteristics are you looking for within that number 10? Is it sort of a Gabriel Sara sort of type of midfielder that you'd want, or is it someone a lot more sort of traditional and reserved who can do that hold up play well and maybe look to play in the strikers who you want?
It's more about having that flair next to Eze. At least they had that flair. I think we're missing that right now. We got Sarr in from Marseille, which I don't think is a number 10. So I think he would eventually start playing as a striker when the time comes right. And then Daichi Kamada from well, he ran out his contract over in Italy, and you know he's played under Oliver Glasner when they won the Europa League together. Brought him in as well, which he will need a bit of adjusting. But I don't think Kamada, I think, is technically gifted, but he doesn't. Is not the flair type of player that I'm looking for in terms of how can play in the pocket, has speed, and basically we play with 2 number 10s. So it'll be Eze and Kamada or whoever comes in. So basically, just have something about them in terms of skills, etc., and to open up space to make the defenders think. Which right now we don't really have in the squad, especially down the right hand side.
Yeah, and something else that I did want to ask is how stable is Crystal Palace, not just on the football pitch, but off the football pitch? I suppose it's similar to West Ham in a certain way that you had quite a traditional manager who, for all intents and purposes, succeeded at Crystal Palace. You wanted to go in a different direction. You did that, got in Patrick Vieira, and then found yourself back with Roy Hodgson. With Oliver Glasner now, do you think it is more stable, and do you think you're set up to go another 10 years as a established Premier League team, or do you reckon that like the legacy of Roy Hodgson could come back to bite you, sort of similar like it did with Patrick Vieira?
I think we're stable under Oliver Glasner. I think he's the most successful manager to join Palace. It's about backing him right now. He's won a European trophy. Every club that he's gone to, he's improved them. Even last season, we had a dreadful season under Hodgson, and then Glasner comes in, and we end up finishing top 10, which was very positive, especially when we were fighting relegation. For well, some people may not agree, but it was very close to the relegation zone. So yeah, I think we've got the right manager. It's about backing him now. As I've said, there's about 2 players there that we do need to strengthen on. We still got quality in this side. Wharton, Eze, Guehi, will see if he ends up staying or leaving, but Mitchell, so Munoz, who joined us in January. So yeah, it's about strengthening the side, and that is because it's not about this team not being good enough to stay in the Premier League. We believe that we've got the quality to stay in the Premier League. It's now looking up, and that is why we need to strengthen. Otherwise, it'll be more of a mediocre season where we finish 13th or 14th. Which is what we don't want. We want to try after 10 years, well, 11 years now in the Premier League. We want to look up rather than down and see what we have to do to try to close the gap. We've got the right manager. We just need to bring in the players.
One of the players who's been really talked about this transfer window is Marc Guehi. Had a fantastic tournament for England at the Euros, and is heavily linked with a move to Newcastle. Do you expect him to start this game? If he does, would then the writing be on the wall that he is going and he's making one final Selhurst Park appearance?
Not necessarily. Like I would expect him to start most likely. But these talks about Newcastle, I mean, there's been various different words used, edging closer. It's going to happen this week. We've heard it all for the past month or so, but the reality is they haven't met our valuation. And even if they do now, I think they've probably got a day or 2 left before Palace just say no, it's too late now. So I expect Guehi to be staying at Palace after we saw Joachim Andersen. I think selling both Anderson and Guehi would be a bit too much. And I know how Steve Parish is. Of course, he'll take the money if the money is right, but also he would have to be sensible in terms of it's not all about the money. It's about trying to push forward, as I've said. So it is late in the window, but right now I expect Guehi to remain a Crystal Palace player. He's captained against Brentford. He's captained against West Ham. So he started the 2 Premier League games. For a player that is, according to the media, so close to a move to Newcastle, he wouldn't start the 2 Premier League games and captain the side. And it's just going on and on and on. And I mean, the window closes in less than 5 days. So right now, I expect Guehi to be a Crystal Palace player, especially after Anderson has left the club. But only time will tell. Of course, football's crazy. A lot of things happen. But for me, my confidence after Anderson being sold is grown, because I just don't see them both leaving in the same window.
And I guess from a Norwich perspective, that's sort of bittersweet in a way, because if Marc Guehi was to leave Crystal Palace and join Newcastle, then there's no doubt he would have conducted himself with utter professionalism and would have a lot of respect from the Crystal Palace fans. The same can't be said for Jonathan Rowe when he just no-showed the first game of the season against Oxford. That was very poor, and it does seem that Crystal Palace have a lot of those players who, even if they are moved on and do find themselves playing football away from Selhurst Park, they will respect the club, and that they do ultimately care for the club whilst they're still contracted. So that is nice to see. This game, what are your predictions for it? How do you think Crystal Palace will line up? And is it crucial that Palace actually go through and win here against Norwich, seeing that you have lost your first 2 games of the Premier League season?
I think it is crucial. From a Palace perspective, looking at this game, first of all, we do want a cup run. That's why we brought in Oliver Glasner. As I've mentioned, he's won the Europa League at Frankfurt. He's been in the Bundesliga with other teams, Wolfsburg. He's got them in the top 4. So he's been good wherever he's gone. So we are at home expecting a win, especially after losing our 2 games. I'm not going to say it will be. Not every Palace fan thinks it'll be easy. I mean, as I've said to you on our channel as well, there's some that's predicting maybe go to penalties. There's some saying 1-0. And then there's me who's saying potential 3-0, because I feel like we have created chances. And you've mentioned about your defense maybe not up to speed just yet. Which, I mean, if we take advantage of that and we go with a strong lineup, I feel like we can score some goals. But yeah, in terms of the lineup, I think it'll be a very strong lineup. There might be 1 or 2 changes, but them changes, in my opinion, could actually potentially make us better. With Edouard being dropped after the West Ham game, I won't be surprised if Sarr comes in, who, of course, you probably know from Watford as well. And Doucouré, who was linked with a £70 million move to Liverpool not too long ago, last summer. He had an ACL injury, so he's out for large portions of the season. Well, basically missed the whole season. But now he should be slowly coming up to speed, and maybe starts this game. So I think Glasner will go for it, because the most ideal scenario, of course, it doesn't work like this, is that if we do beat you in the cup game, it gives us a morale boost, which we need, because there's a lot of noise going around the club. And if we do end the window stronger as well, bringing in the 1 or 2 players, it just gives us a bit more confidence going to the Chelsea game. Finally, we've won that game, we've brought in the players, and now let's just focus on the league. So that is why this game is important to a lot of Palace fans, and that is why I do think Oliver Glasner will take it seriously.
Yeah, and of course, it's sort of a similar start to what you had a few seasons ago under Frank de Boer. I believe you beat a certain team down the road in the Carabao Cup in August, and that was your only win that month. You obviously went on to sack him and get in Roy Hodgson, and the rest is history, so to speak. So yeah, sort of it shouldn't be understated how much a win in the early stage of the cup can do, especially if you've got off to a slow start. But one thing I do want to touch upon as well is the your memories of this fixture. We've played a lot in the last 10 years when Norwich have been in the Premier League.
Yeah.
What has been your standout moment from this fixture? Because for me, one that sticks out like a sore thumb was in 2016. Crystal Palace have signed Patrick Bamford. He didn't do much, terminated that loan after half a season, and then Norwich get him on loan. He starts at Palace, has a glorious chance, misses it, and then Tim Closer, the new signing, gets injured and is ruled out for the run-in. And I think that day we lost 1-0 to Palace. And that day, I think our fans knew that the writing was on the wall. Do you have any memories, sort of, obviously not similar to that, but do you have any memories that stick out for you?
My last memory of facing Norwich was I went to the game. It was at Carrow Road. I think Roy Hodgson was in charge, and we had a youngster. In fact, his name has just gone off, out of my head. But there were a lot of I think Brandon Pierrick. A lot of fans were, wanting him to play. They will keep saying, "Oh, Hodgson, why don't you play him? Why don't you play him?" And he played, and he done all right. He performed well, and then he just disappeared. He just after that, we didn't see much of him, and I don't know where he's playing at right now. So yeah, I mean, we have had some good results against Norwich, and of course we're playing this game at Selhurst Park, but I have been to Carrow Road a few times. So yeah, it's been good facing. I don't think we've really had any major boring games that I can think of. I think there's always been kind of goals involved whenever we played. From what I can remember, anyways, if I can remember properly, you probably know better than me.
Yeah, I can't really remember a draw. I can remember it was probably that game you're on about at Carrow
That
Road
draw.
in Daniel Farke's first season. I can remember Todd Cantwell scoring after like 5 minutes. I, I I can't remember. It was either a draw or a Palace win.
I think we
But
won. I think we won. I
yeah,
remember. I think
yeah.
maybe it could
But
have been a draw.
all
Yeah.
I can remember from that game was just how early Todd Cantwell scored and just going, okay, we'll try and hold on to a lead for 85 minutes. Obviously, that didn't happen, unfortunately. But yeah, a lot of good um battles between the two sides. And I think um I think the last time we were in the Premier League, we went to Selhurst Park, lost 2-0 on
Mm,
Boxing Day, I think it was,
mm,
completely stunk the place out in 2021. We were awful. And I think then a lot of people seriously woke up to the fact that something needed to change and something needed to change drastically, to be honest. But
yeah.
yeah, anyway, here's to a good game. Hopefully we win. Hopefully Norwich can get through and progress to the next round of the League Cup. D, where can people go to keep up with all of your good work about Crystal Palace?
Yeah, back of the nest on YouTube and all other social media platforms. We do reviews, reactions, basically everything that you can think of in terms of content related regarding Crystal Palace. So if you do want to check us out, you can do so by going over to Back of the Nest. And thank you for having me on the channel.
No worries. So a link to Back in the Nest will be in the description below. But otherwise, stay tuned for more Norwich City content. We will be having a preview and a match review of the Crystal Palace game. That will be going live soon, and we will also we've just recorded our weekly podcast, so that's already up on the YouTube channel. So go and get watching that and subscribing to MyFootballWriter for more Norwich City content. So yeah, I've been Henry, and I'll see you guys soon.